Hello and thank you for joining us on the Journalist Hangout on Sunday. I'm Ayodele Uzubakun. Today on the program, former President Obasanjo canvasses creation of state police as Peter Obi blames serial leadership failure for insecurity and other national woes. Power sector fails to meet 4,500 megawatt electricity targets, and later on the show, Lagos ramped up work on light rail projects bent on meeting December deadline for blue and red lines. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju and Lekon Shote. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for staying with us. Ranking status and experience are essential ingredients for robust legislation and oversight in the parliament. Hence, the Senate President, Ahmad Lawan, and Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, have called on the leadership of the All Progressive Congress, APC, to consider automatic tickets for those they call performing lawmakers. At a meeting in Abuja, they argued that going by the harmonious working relationship between the National Assembly and the executive, it is essential for such lawmakers to be given special treatment. The work of lawmaking, it's not something that is easy, especially when it comes to understanding the rules, when it comes to terms of understanding all the procedures in the House. It takes time. That's why you see United States Congress, the House, you see people spending 30 years, 34 years, 35 years. So the more experienced the person is, the better. Becomes better every day. But since 1999, the turnover in our National Assembly has been nothing to write home about in terms of how people just come and go. We hardly have people like even Gbajabiamila himself and Lawal that have been in the Senate since 2003.
Yes, it's a big problem, and you and I know where the problem lies. For some of these lawmakers, they may be very good at coming up with bills. They may be very good at pushing for the interest of their constituents to be taken care of. But in terms of having a good relationship with the governors of their states, that has always been a problem. Governors particularly want federal lawmakers to
be subservient
to them, to not show any atom of disrespect or
ambition
or disloyalty. Okay. Once you start showing that, the next thing, the governor does not want to know whether you are very useful in the House. He wants to give that seat to someone else. This is one of the biggest problems. And then, because governors usually also believe that once they leave that seat, the next place to go to in their political lives is the National Assembly. So many of those federal lawmakers, including especially senators, their positions are usually threatened by governors who are interested in going to the Senate after serving their terms as governor. So as long as we have this kind of political relationship between federal lawmakers and governors, this sort of problem will continue. Remember, even during the time of Oshomole as chairman, national chairman of the APC, he tried to cut a deal with federal lawmakers because he was bent on having that Senate President Bukola Saraki removed.
Yes.
So he cut a deal with them that they will back him in exchange for keeping their positions. There were also federal lawmakers that he spoke with and told them, do not defect to the PDP along with Saraki, your positions will be guaranteed. But he found it difficult to convince governors who had made up their minds that some of those lawmakers had to go. I'll give the example of Kaduna State. Sheikh Sani refused to defect to the PDP. He tried to not show extreme loyalty to Bukola Saraki because he knew that Oshomole was bent on removing Saraki as Senate president. But what did we see? In the end, the governor of his state was bent on replacing him because one of the reasons was because he did not agree with Governor Rufai's plan to borrow some money for infrastructure in the state. So they punished him. In fact, not just him, other lawmakers who were opposed to the idea of taking that loan at that time were all punished. So as long as governors have that grip on the politics of their state, including who goes to National Assembly, who does not go, this idea of keeping them there for so long would not happen. But where you have a governor who is happy with you, you can be there for as long as he wants. So it's not enough to speak to the national chairman of the party. It is the governors that are the problem. If a governor is interested in your seat, the national chairman cannot stop him from taking that seat. It's as simple as that.
Because now, when you look at the ranking senators and ranking House of Rep members, and when you see the kind of confidence they exude, if you look at how Femi Gbajabiamila, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, take charge of the House, and you will know that this person knows what he's doing. Even I've noted and spotted Speaker Gbajabiamila when he was the majority leader, as far back as the 9th Assembly, the 8th Assembly then. I know that, look, this guy, the way he quotes House procedures, the rules and everything, and with time, and being a lawyer, and with time, you see some of them will even cross over from the State House of Assembly to the National Assembly, and they get better with time.
Yeah. Well, to go straight to the issue at hand, I appreciate the need for horse trading in politics. You can't but negotiate, And I also appreciate the fact that the longer you stay in the legislative chamber, the better for you. You know the ropes and you know how to deal with issues of state, My worry is the justification by the Senate President, since we have cooperated with the executive branch. And I'm asking myself, I remember that when this 9th National Assembly was inaugurated, not too long after that, the Senate President was saying that we will cooperate with the executive branch, whichever way, on whatever comes. And that sounded like giving somebody a blank check to ride roughshod and do whatever he likes. And you can see a bit of the issues on the transmission, the Electoral Act bill, that aspect of a transmission of electoral results, and then of course Section 8412 of the Constitution, which it appears now of the Electoral Act, which appears nobody is actually paying attention to. Now, after signing, somebody is now asking to have it back, to have it changed and all that. That worries me, that if the argument is let's have continuity, let there be longevity of tenure, so that we can deliver better results for Nigerians, I buy that. But if the argument stated openly by the Senate President is that, we have been cooperating with the executive branch, something worries me. Now, another dimension I look at is this. It appears that we are going to be running our primaries on the basis of consensus and negotiations now, rather than people going for direct primaries. You can see how the members of the EXCO, the NEC of APC emerged. It appears that is how, even if you like, legislative aspirants, as well as governorship and even presidential candidates will be picked. It appears that we are indirectly going towards a consensus, a negotiated, worked out primaries as it is. And I think we need to resolutely look at that. I personally, I love the idea of having direct primaries. Let delegates come and establish their preferences, you know, rather than somebody walking out and saying, oh, the chairman must be this, the presidential candidate must be this. You never know.
Okay,
you know,
I have to.
After people are paid.
Look, I have to pause it there. All right, now, for a smarter and better Lagos as a commercial hub, an efficient transportation system is required. One of the interventions made in this regard is the Lagos Light Rail Project, which started as far as back as 2006, that's 2006. The current administration is ramping up work on the project with the Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority, LAMATA, bent on delivering the blue and the red lines by December. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu has promised that the blue and the red lines would commence operation in the first quarter of 2023. Lagosians can't wait. The governor inspected the project earlier. Let's share this with you.
Thank you.
So people are seeing it to block the sensor. That sensor has to.
Thank you.
So we're going to have. Don't rush it. We're going to have it all rolled out.
Just stop it.
All right. So we join our correspondent Demola Lawrence is at the project site now, where Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu is inspecting the red and blue line project. Thank you, Demola. Demola, what's going on there?
Okay, thank you very much, Ayo Dele Ozungbako. Of course, it's a behalf of activities where the governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, is actually inspecting the blue rail line. And of course, it's been very, very interesting seeing these things are being test run for now. But of course, I have the Commissioner for Transportation, Frederick Oladende, who is going to tell us more about the project. All right, Commissioner, first I want to ask the significance of these rail projects and looking at how the routes are interconnected.
Okay, thank you very much, and good afternoon, everybody. This is the blue line. This is one of 7 rail lines that Lagos State will build over the next 2 decades. It's about 27 kilometers, but we're actually developing the first phase, which is about 13 kilometers, and that would consist of 5 stations. So we started from Igomu, we touched Alaba, we've touched Mile 2. We're actually Mile 2 here. There's National Theatre, and then eventually we would develop a marina. This is significant because if you look at the population of Lagos, we know that we're going through a population explosion. And the only way we can move people sustainably in Lagos is to develop our rail mass transit. So along this corridor, this mass transit, once we start the first phase from Mile 2 to Marina, we'll be able to carry about 250 to 300 passengers per day. Now, also, when you look at the infrastructure, we are also integrating it with the BLT, and then we have a water transport terminal just around here. It's important that we give Lagosians options so that people are not captive to one mode or the other. And so from here, people can actually get on the ferry terminal and then go all the way to Marina. So, and all the communities around here, I mean, we would have the first and last mile serving all those communities. So it's important that we move people in mass from one point to the other, especially on the major corridors. And that's the significance of this. This station, I mean, or this corridor will be operational by the end of the fourth quarter. And then we'll then begin to develop from Mile 2 to Okokomaiko. So I think we're excited. You can see the progress that we've made, and I mean, we're right on time with this project.
Okay, Commissioner, I want to say that one of the things that I noticed while we're coming is the fact that the people are actually excited to see that these things will eventually start working. What's the time frame for these projects to kick off eventually, where people, of course, will start using the rail?
So I did say that this rail, the first phase of this rail from Mile 2 all the way to Marina would be operational by the fourth quarter of 2022. So you can see that 4 of the stations are ready. The 5th station is almost completed, and we're beginning to clear the corridor just to make sure that we get it operational. We have bought some rolling stock. We are talking to concessionaires also that will ensure that we operate this corridor. But I mean, you can see that this station is completed. All we just need to do is just clean up. The BLT is ready, and then we're already running operations on the BLT. So what we need here is a linkage. And also, let me just say that this Mile 2 station is also a major station. So there's going to be what we call a major terminal that will connect the marina, the jetty terminal, the BLT, as well as the first and last mile. So this is a major interchange. This would open up the whole of, Festac going further down. It would open up Mile 2, and people will be able to come here and then connect, use other modes, and then maybe traverse all the way to the island. So it's a major project. It will decongest this corridor. This corridor has suffered for a while. This is the Lagos Badagry Expressway, and we need to decongest it. So this will take a lot of our roads and give people options. So also, in terms of the economic activities around here, it would also open up major opportunities for business people to actually come in and then do business in Mile 2.
Okay. Of course, that is a commissioner for transportation, Frederick Oladende. I will be having the DG of Lamata, which of course is going to be telling me the technicalities of the difference between the rail line and the blue line, so that residents of Lagos can be able to identify these lines and know the importance of it.
I think.
Where are you heading to from this point, Demola?
Demola, where are you heading to from this point?
Okay, we are actually heading back to Marina. We took off from the National Theatre Station. We got to Alaba. From Alaba, we got to Mile 2. No, we got to Orile. From Orile, then of course Alaba, then Mile 2. And then we are going back to Marina. So there are 5 stations actually on this particular rail line.
How was the ride from Alaba down to Mile 12 or Mile 2?
Okay, so because it was a test run, they actually used a construction wagon to convey the governor and some of his cabinet members. So we were actually at the back. It was a smooth ride, so to say. We were just moving slowly to see how the tracks are effective. I can't tell you, of course I saw it myself. The tracks are on point. So we're actually looking at all of these things. Then what I'm looking forward to is how we are going to connect back to Marina.
Okay, Marina actually has a very big terminal, so we'll be happy to have you link up with us once you get to Marina. And we'll be happy to talk to the governor as well.
And finally, if you can ask the commissioner in terms of seating capacity, numerical strength, per how many were you able to convey? How many people can this coach contain?
Okay, so Commissioner, okay, let me ask, how many capacity can this, the train will be able to take?
So each wagon will be able to take 150 passengers at a time. So if you have 4 wagons, we'll be able to take 600 at one go. And so it depends on the number of wagons which we run. So this terminal has the capacity for 10. So at any point in time, we can carry 1,500 passengers at a time.
Okay, of course, that is it. Ayo, you've heard it from the Commissioner for Transportation. When we get to Marina, we'll of course talk to the Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who is going to be rounding up the trip at that particular end.
All right, thank you, Demola Lawrence. When you get to Marina, let's just talk with the Governor of Lagos State so that he can give us more overview on this ambitious project. Jide?
Yes, he's something to be happy about. I've been told that it will take just 12 minutes for the train to move from Oyingbo to Agbado.
Oyingbo to Agbado
in 12 minutes.
And you know,
that's what I've been
by
told.
road, how long that can take you from Oyingbo to Agbado?
If you are lucky to do by road, if you are lucky to do it bearing
2-3 hours,
3 hours, even 4 on a busy day. So it's a revolutionary project, and we can't wait for it to kick off.
Well, just like Babajide says, I'm excited about this. I grew up on the Lagos Island, and I'm passionate about Lagos. I'm sentimental about Lagos, and that this is happening in my lifetime. I'm very, very excited because I regret that about 40 years ago, this same project was cancelled. And I really feel bad. I have lived in 2 big cities where subway works, and I've also lived in 2 big cities where subway doesn't work. I know the dilemma. It's just about not just about Lagos. I've lived in cities where railway line is working, and I've lived in cities where in big cities where it doesn't work. I know that this thing for us, it's a warning. If we get it right. But my worry is this: I hope we're not just showboating for electoral purposes now. If we meet this deadline and surpass it and do more, I'll be very excited. Listen, if we can, if we take the advice, the Council of the World Bank that Lagos State and Ogun State should be run together like what you call a megalopolis. I can imagine people living at Ifo and working at Aja. And just like Babajide said,
if you can get to Agbado,
just get to the subway station and then you are here. And you are not tired. And then, of course, there's no doubt about it.
12 minutes.
Yeah, if you recall, I don't know if you read the book, The Sexual Wilderness. It's not about sex. It's just saying that transportation is important to is key to the growth of the economy of big cities. And if we get this right, Lagos State GDP that we are even celebrating now is going to even be much, much bigger than that.
Jide, this reminds me of, when you go outside the country, and when you stop at the airport, and the airport is connected to train stations that can take you through the red line, through the yellow line, and look at that, you just need maybe a card to just cross over that the barrier when you buy a card, you cross over the barrier, and down it will take you through the train. And for a state government in this part of the world, this is strange, because I don't think any state in Nigeria has ever embarked on this kind of ambitious project.
The Nigerian state, Nigeria as a country, has not embarked on something like this. Because all these rail projects that we are talking about, Abuja, Kaduna, and the rest, they are not the same class as this. The difference between the Kaduna, Abuja rail project and this one is like night and day. And this is not diminishing the efforts of Rotimi Amechi and other people. It is the reality. What is the speed of that train that bandits attacked the other day? The difference is in the speed. The difference is in the comfort. If you've seen this train, you've seen pictures when the Lagos state officials went to the US to buy it. You've seen pictures. You know that it is not in the same class as that federal project. Both in terms of cost and everything, in terms of comfort, in terms of speed, they are not in the same class. Let's tell ourselves the truth. So Lagos is a state like no other. Lagos, the economy of Lagos rivals that in terms of the size, the GDP, it rivals even the economies of some African countries. So you don't equate Lagos with any state. No state comes close to Lagos in our country. That is a fact. That is the reality. Now, it should make us happy that Lagos is now embarking on steps, on projects that underline its status as not just a Nigerian giant, but already an African giant. Because if your economy is in the top 5 on the continent of Africa, Lagos is the California of the African continent. Within the state, within the American state, there is a state called California that is like a country on its own. It's like a country on its own. And its economy, the economy of California, is greater than that of Russia. Yes, that's a fact. The size of the California economy is greater than the size of the Russian economy. Russia may be a military giant, but in terms of the size of its economy, it does not even come close to California. So that is how Lagos is to us in Nigeria.
We need to add that.
Let's just go back to Demola Lawrence is standing by with the MD of the Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority, Lamata. Demola, over to you.
Okay, Ayo. Okay, so I have the DG of Lamata with me. So tell us, definitely, Lagosians really want to know the difference between the rail line and the blue line, and how these are connected to the transportation in Lagos.
Okay, so like you're all aware, we're doing 2 rail lines. One is the red line, and that's going from the north to the south. That is from Agbado all the way to Marina. That's the full extent of it, but we're doing it in phases. So the first phase will go from Agbado and it will end in Oyingbo. The second one is the blue line, and that's where we're standing today. That's where the governor is inspecting. And this is the east to west corridor of Lagos, and it will go from Okokomaiko all the way to Marina. Yet again, we're doing this in phases, and it will be from Mile 2 all the way back to Marina. So right now we're at Mile 2 station. So what we are doing here is to ensure not only that the rail lines work, but we have connectivity between different modes of transportation. So this Mile 2 station, for instance, is going to be a major transport interchange. So there is a waterways round just behind us here. So there'll be ferries, there'll be BRT routes along the routes. There's a rail line, and then there's standard bus routes. And there's also what we call non-motorized transportation. We're encouraging people to walk and to cycle. And we're incorporating that in what we're implementing here at Mile 2, which is a transport interchange. That will be here at Mile 2 station. So that's the major, I think the major thing to say is that it's the way they run within the state. One goes from the north to the south, and the other one goes from the east to the west. And that's where we are.
Okay, so another question I like to ask is, if you look at this rail line, you will see that some of these things are probably being damaged, by the area boys around this area. So I want us to talk about it. Tell us, what is Lagos State going to be doing, to make sure that these things are well maintained?
Okay, so at the end of the day, what I've always said is that when a government builds infrastructure, the onus is on all of us to own it. And in owning it, we all have to be certain that we're looking
the MD of Lamata is trying to say that we are going to have one from crossing down to Oyinbo, the first phase. Then the second phase will now be from that Oyinbo to Lagos Island. This will virtually, connect the whole of Lagos from the north to the south.
Yes, this is. Remember our first interview with Governor Sanwo-Olu? It was one of the questions that we asked him. Because this project had been delayed because we didn't see enough energy devoted to it by the immediate past administration. But right now, Governor Sanwo-Olu has made it like his cardinal program, his cardinal objective to deliver this project and deliver it quickly. Because of the size of this project at that time, it was a real tug of war to get the then Minister of Finance, Konjo Iweala, to guarantee that loan, because you are not a sovereign. Lagos is not a sovereign. You are a state under a sovereign.
It's going to be very difficult if you have different parties. The federal would interface with the World Bank for so that you can have access to the facility. So at that point, politics and all that came in. But in the end, reason prevailed, and Lagos was able to have access to the funds it needed for this this life-changing, gigantic project. As my brother Shote said earlier, when good things happen in your lifetime, such good things have the potential of even prolonging your life. Many people are dying slowly in traffic. In Lagos traffic.
It is said that we are even sitting ourselves to death. We sit too much. We are supposed to walk from time to time before going back to do some work. But when you are now sitting in traffic, sometimes never moving traffic, just seated,
hours,
it worsens the sedentary lifestyle that people are used to. People who do white-collar jobs. It worsens it by the fact that on your way home, you are now even going to sit down for 3-4 hours.
Yeah.
But this is what this kind of project will help us to address, because if it's going to take just 12 minutes, I still will want a situation in which this woman can address, the Lamata woman can address the speed and the advantages that train has over the ones that we are used to. That's when Nigerians will now
I'm
know.
sure my producer is still trying to get Demola so that I can get us with the Lamata MD, so that
Nigerians
we
will now
talk
know
about the
what we are talking
speed.
about.
We know about the speed.
Yes, the speed of the speed is very important. That speed underlines how modern it is. Because we are used to train now, slow moving train. 3 days you are going to Ilorin from Kaduna. You will be inside the train for days. So yet people, students enjoyed it back then. Once we close for the
so we joined the governor is going to join us in the next location. That's the executive governor of Lagos State, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. If they get to the next location, I'm sure Demola Lawrence will go and join them in the next location. Lekon Shote, this is big, this is massive.
It's worth celebrating. We should just say, even though it's not yet done yet, let's begin to congratulate the governor. I can't deceive you. I'm very excited.
No,
deliver it in December.
I'm very excited about this.
December is here.
December is here.
Your bus will say Ojulo Kwesi.
Yeah, because I don't like driving these days now. So if I can just sit down inside a train, from the train I can move into a bus, and you know, if I need to go to Apapa and get inside a ferry boat and go and come back without these hassles, this is fantastic. It's a great thing. I'm looking forward to this. I'm really looking forward to this. Yeah.
All right, moving on now. Before we return back to the train, blue and red line across Lagos State, trouble and wanton killings are escalating on the Plateau in Nigeria. In fresh attacks, gunmen killed more than 100 persons in some communities in Kanam and Wase, local government areas of Plateau State in north-central Nigeria. In the same vein, some Haida militiamen destroyed a 15-hectare banana and plantain farm in Rinyon local government area of the state. Let's share the story by TVC News Funam Joshua with you.
It is estimated that more than 300 people have lost their lives as a result of a slow and steady incursion of suspected bandits into forest around some communities in Plateau State in recent times. Despite several efforts by the authorities to put an end to it, the attackers seems to be winning as they keep unleashing mayhem on defenseless victims at each instance. Communities in Miangu, Riom, Berkeladi, Mangu, and most recently in Kanam and Wase Council areas have suffered casualties in attacks suspected to be masterminded by Haida militiamen. The death toll of recent attacks and killings in more than 5 communities in Kanam and Wase Council areas has risen to over 175 people and is still counting at the moment. While the state is still mourning these unpleasant events, a local farmer Monday morning woke up to find his only fertile surviving 15-hectare banana and plantain plantation destroyed by these marauders in a village in Riom Council area of the state. Our crew went to the farm and saw the damage caused.
You can see behind me the ripe plantain and bananas. They harvested it, and the ones that were not yet ripe for harvest, they will fell it down like this one behind me and then feed their cows with. At night they will come and dig. You can see that Irish potatoes were here. They've all dug it out and went away with it.
Stephanus Gang is the current senator representing Plateau North at the Red Chambers. He and Amos Gizo, a seasoned politician in the state, share their thoughts on the recent acts of terror being witnessed.
This is the war that Nigeria is facing now. Internal security is the main war that Nigeria is facing now. So the entire security, the capacity of the Nigerian military should be deployed fully. Every equipment that we have that will silence these people once and for all should be deployed.
We had requested that government should be able to secure our borders by putting in security operatives around the borders.
Despite several efforts from the local, state and federal government to put an end to this recurring situation, the local farmers say they are yet to record any positive result from that action. They are calling on the international community to come to their rescue before it will be too late for them. From Joshua, TVC News, Kuru.
it is very sad that I don't know where these militias, where they are from, where these headers are from. I don't know, but the only thing that in recent times in this Plateau, on local government, all this back in the day, life is like British and cheap there now.
You know,
people just sleep and wake
one
up.
of the most animalistic killing of people in recent times had to do with the attack on this Wase and Kanam local governments. You had the reporter saying that at the last count, 175 people. Yes. In recent times, that is the worst. It's such a shame that
this country,
we are people are not even talking about.
Yes,
you know, when they first died, when they first attacked them, they were talking about 60 something, this and that. But
cumulatively,
in the days after the attack, some people had their corpses retrieved in the forest, you know, in those bushes in the area. So now they've seen that more than 175 people have died. It is
unacceptable.
It's unacceptable. It's just terrible to bear this kind of bloodletting in a country. And that's just two local governments. Two local governments. In the same country, Europeans get killed. Just a few of them. We will be making noise about it on social media. Some of us will use their pictures, you know. But in our own country, people get killed. It's no longer news to us. It's not breaking news. Nobody has resigned because he has proven incompetent to protect the people. And that these killers continually attack some communities in Plateau State, and we're unable to stop them. They are ruining the lives of farmers.
And they will spend, most of these attacks, they spend hours.
When you destroy people's means of livelihood in this manner, it leads to hatred, and the fighting will not stop. Because you destroy their lives.
Okay, look at the mass grave dog now.
Yes.
They'll just throw human being there.
That's why they bury. Because by the time they come into the to begin to sort out people, by merely look, some of them will have been burnt beyond recognition. So in the end, it's the mass grave that we have to resort to. How do you begin to give each person his own dead brother or dead? In some cases, they even wiped out an entire family. So 175, and look, I warn people that look, this thing really has nothing to do with religion. 90% of the people killed, more than 90% of the people killed in this Kanam and Wase are Muslims, because they are local governments dominated by Muslims, Wase especially. So the people killed them. We assume that those people are they are Muslim. I've said it repeatedly. This band of rampaging killers, you can't pin them to a religion.
Are godless.
They may be answering maybe Muslim name, but that doesn't make them Muslim. A lot of them are idol worshippers. So it's just terrible. Mr. President complained that about the security agencies, that look, we are not doing enough in spite of the logistics provided. I think that it's becoming clear now that there's a lot more that we need to do in the area of security. And I've advised the president, if people are not doing what you gave them a job to do, you need to wield the big stick. Don't just complain. Don't complain. Go ahead and do what is right. Elsewhere, they resign when it is clear that they have failed. We know they will not resign in Nigeria. In Sri Lanka, when that terrorist attack was launched, somebody decided to resign. In our country, it doesn't happen. But you, who gave them the job, you have the right to send them packing.
I see what they did to their farmlands. See what they did.
See, I don't want to, I mean, people have died, terrible and all that. I want to focus more on the economic aspect of it. You and I know that food is expensive now in the market. We also know that do you know that I have a friend in the north who has 1,000-acre farmland of cotton. He doesn't go to the farm anymore because he's afraid he will be killed.
They'll kidnap him.
Nigeria cotton was what was taken to Egypt to start their cotton plantations there. I'm talking about the high grade, the quality of Nigeria's cotton. That is all but gone now. Now imagine if that was going on. We have the cotton ginning machines, then the textile industry, which is the largest employer of labor, will continue. It will have the raw materials.
Back then.
Go into that. That is gone now. Then food that we need. I hope you've taken oranges lately in Lagos. When you take it, you hardly find juice in it. It's just, and then the prices.
And they are wasting away as well.
Yes. And the price, just one, they tell you 50 naira.
It's 50 naira.
And there's nothing you can do about it. So, my concern is that government needs to understand the place of security in the economy of this country. If we don't pay attention to that, and then, unfortunately for us, this same government that is unable to secure the lives of people is raising tariffs. You are raising VAT from 5% to 7.5%. People whose economy is not really working. Do you understand? Was it last week that the customs is raising waging levy on imported used vehicles?
They went on strike.
Do you understand? So all these things, it doesn't show that people who are running this country, even on that, they can make the connect between security and the economy of this country. I was excited when General Buhari said security, economy are his focus because they come together. But I can see that there's no connect between the two from the performance of this government.
Jide, how do we stop this kind of bloodletting now? These are not bandits. These are not Boko Haram guys. Most are
bandits. They are bandits because they kidnapped more than 70 people in those communities. They are bandits. Let no one deceive themselves. They are not terrorists. They are bandits. That is, their modus operandi clearly fits the definition of banditry. And I have asked questions about the killings in those two communities, Kanam and Wasin. These are bandits. Yes. But bandits also kill people. Especially when you try to resist them. Dogo Gide and his people, Turuji and his people, they are bandits. But if villagers stand up to them, they kill them. That doesn't mean they are no longer, because they've killed people, that doesn't mean they are no longer bandits. Armed robbers kill people. But you can't call an armed robber a terrorist. His mission is different. His idiosyncrasies are different. So they came and they kidnap people. Kidnap people, steal people's things, rustle people's cattle. That's banditry. But they also apply some level of terror so that you will not stand in their way.
Still fair.
So that you will not stand in their way. And those areas, there's little or no security presence. Even when you send for
hours,
yes, they will not get there. The roads are bad. I've been to when I went to interview those bandits back then, December 2018 or so. I talked about an 18-kilometer road that we passed through for more than 2 hours. Just 18 kilometers.
18 kilometers.
18 kilometers.
For more than 2 hours.
Why? Because of the very poor state of the road.
Kilometers.
And that was a community that bandits attacked. It's a border community with Zamfara State in Katsina, in Kankara local government. The bandits attacked. Now, if they were to come and rescue the villagers. Once they have finished their killing spree, before security people get there, because the place could not be accessed easily by road. This is the same thing that we are seeing here. These killers, these bandits don't go to urban centers. It's those villages that they go to.
We have time to concentrate and operate.
Because they don't want to be restrained. They don't want to be stopped.
Yes.
But once they go to those places, they operate for hours and
without
they kill
being
people
detected.
and then they will then leave. So we've got to secure our people better. Many more people are giving up on Nigeria, giving up on the country because of the problem of insecurity. Many people are leaving the country on account of this. So we've got to do better than we are doing.
As a result of this insecurity, if you know the number of our children going to seek asylum, people that are not even close to where these bandits are and Boko Haram, where you have them, they go everywhere in the world now seeking asylum, saying Nigeria is not safe. What's the narrative?
The Ukrainian-Russian war. You remember Nigerians who wanted
they want to go and fight for Ukraine.
You know, you recall there was somebody, I think it was in Heathrow Airport, the last 3 or 4 weeks. They apprehended him, and I think it looks like they were going to deport him. He jumped and died, killed himself.
Prefer to die.
Prefer to die than come back to Nigeria. It's that terrible, you know. And I think
the pains, the agony,
yes,
their faces.
The government needs to fully understand. But I'm beginning to be thinking now: is it just pounding them with bullets and ammunition and that? Shouldn't there be another way of engaging? I'm looking at what President Yar'Adua did with so-called amnesty for Niger Delta, and that gave us some dividends. Maybe we need to be, looking at issues like this, so that it's not just bringing to Kanu or whatever it is and hitting people, but actually finding a way to understand. Maybe we need to call the human GPS, Sheikh Gumi, and say, wait a minute. Those guys.
Yeah, even said he will not talk.
You said that.
Consider these days.
Because the things he was saying, maybe we need to sit down with him. Well, at least Professor Usman is talking. Maybe that one should be engaged.
Usman traveled with him to see those bandits.
Yeah, that's right.
The truth is, a lot of those guys, the bandits themselves, were victims of cattle rustling.
Yeah.
Some of them had several heads of cattle, and they lost everything in one day. So this now, they are avenging the wickedness meted out to them on people. And because the security agencies failed to do the needful. In fact, they told me back then when I interviewed them that they will report to the police. Instead, police would detain they that reported. So they got frustrated and said, okay, we will now begin to kidnap people.
The state,
We too will join them since we can't beat them. That's how a lot of them too now became cattle rustlers. You were a victim of cattle rustling, then you too suddenly took to cattle rustling.
All right.
Because the state is
we'll take this break. When we come back, we'll discuss more. Still Journalist Hangout on Sunday. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. It's still Journalist Hangout on Sunday, and I still have Babajide Kolade Oshitoju in the studio and Lekon Shote. There's no way out of our power supply conundrum yet, and blackouts may be with us for a longer time to come. The federal government is yet to meet the 4,500 megawatt minimum target is set for 2022 in accordance with its power sector recovery program. Though data from the program's April fact sheet showed that 4,500 megawatts is the minimum level of supply needed for the grid stability and reduction of outages. Report from the Nigeria Electricity System Operator showed that only 3,839 megawatts of the electricity was sent to the distribution companies on the 19th of April. Jide, in recent times, I don't know, I don't want to talk about the number of times that we've seen system collapse. No, I want to talk about the number of times I've had power supply in my house. So, and that is what Nigerians care about. The situation is so bad now that we just permanently rely on generators.
Yeah, it's we live in very tough times in terms of energy. We've complained about this problem for so long. Some people sit in the little corners of their houses and they say, electricity has improved, because in their little corner of our country they have consistent electricity. It is just by happenstance that such people enjoy electricity.
Not generalized.
If a country of more than 100 million, we are only able to wheel 3,839 megawatts. 3,000. When South Africa does consistently 42,000. That should tell you where we are. That should tell you we are not making progress in this area. And this Nigerian electricity system operator is not something that media houses put together. It is a product of the energy structure in our country. What I mean is that even the people provide us with energy, the power ministry is aware of this agency that has come up with this report. So this is on the average what we are able to do. If you cannot wheel Nigeria, yes, we have capacity to generate in excess of 12,000 megawatts. But it is not what you can generate that is the issue. It is what you can wheel. Because it is a relay. When you generate, it goes to the transmission, and from transmission to the distributors. If one leg of these three chains is broken, you cannot enjoy electricity. So if you are generating 10,000 megawatts, then what can the transmission company of Nigeria, which up till now we have refused to privatize, the question is, what can TCN will to the distribution companies? If they can't will all of what you have generated, then, or they can only will half of it, then the discourse will not be expected to produce magic, because it is from the abundance of what you give them that they are going to distribute to Nigerians. And the discourse have made it a habit to not give electricity to communities where they have a rush of debtors or energy thieves. They will give electricity to places where they are sure that they will be able to collect what the Yorubas call ojowo, those who will pay them. Those chronic debtors, they will not want to give you electricity. So this is the problem that we face. Look at Egypt as a country. Egypt is a true African giant in every sense of the word. Militarily in the Arab world, apart from Algeria, I don't know any country that can stand up to Egypt. Egypt today is an African country that has more than enough electricity. 100% of Egyptians have access to electricity. It has not always been like that. It's just determination. When successive government make up their minds that they want to achieve something, then they apply themselves to it, they achieve it. Egypt is now thinking of, in fact, it's gotten into agreement to sell electricity to European countries, including Greece, Cyprus. That's an African country thinking of selling electricity. It has more than enough. It's now thinking of selling to European countries and even African countries that they described as power hungry, those who don't have enough.
Like we do to Ghana.
Through the sea cable, they will sell electricity to them. They transmit it to them through the sea cable. You lay cables under the sea. It gets to Cyprus, it gets to Greece. That's an African country selling electricity. My own country cannot even generate enough, not to talk of selling to Europe and Africa. The countries that we give electricity, Burkina Faso, what was it called? Republic of Benin, Niger. People say, why are we giving them electricity when we don't have enough? Because they don't know that when we wanted to construct the Kainji dam, we got into an agreement with those countries, because Nigeria is, when you look at River Niger, all the way from Futajalon, we are at the lowest point. If those countries dam the water upstream, you will not get water to do your dam. So we had to beg them, don't dam this river. We need it for a major hydropower project. And at that time, Kainji was the mainstay of our power infrastructure.
So that's the reason for the cooperation we have?
Yes. To stop them, look at the problem between Egypt and the problem between Ethiopia now and Egypt over the Nile River. It's the sort of thing that we wanted to avoid. So you are obligated to give them power. You will give them, because if they choose to dam it, that's 700 megawatts, because the stock capacity of Kainji is 700 megawatts. That's about, if they choose to dam it, you won't have access to the hydro plant, water for the hydro plant anymore. And you know, we have Kainji, we have Shiroro, we have Jeba. So are we going to endanger our hydro plants? We won't want to do that. So just give them their water, give them their power so that they can.
It's like a partnership thing.
Yeah, so that their own end of the bargain, they can keep it.
Rico, it's this situation that, I don't know, you said real projects, that you can see real projects in your lifetime in Lagos State, you are happy. I wonder if you can get 24 hours power supply in your lifetime.
It's something that is a bit scary. I wonder why we are hovering around this 4,000 megawatts. I think with the president's body language, in February 2016, we were able to get 4,100, and that has been the highest we've gotten. Installed capacity is about 12,000 or something mega, and then the TCN is about 7,000. That limits what you can transmit to start with. Now, I want us to look at the history of this thing and possibly the culture of our people. I look at how we dealt with the issue of telecommunications in Nigeria. Yes, we gave NITEL 0804, and then we expected them to move. They didn't move. Those who got 0802, 0803, and so on, they moved. You and I know that some of the staff of NITEL who are indolent, not willing, not ready to work, left NITEL and joined these networks. And then they suddenly discover their work ethic. Do you understand? Now, I think what we ought to have done with these electricity things is not to sell these legacy things, but rather give fresh licenses to people, the same way we give to the GSM companies. And then if those people who work with these legacy power companies are prepared to seek employment with the new companies, they will not bring this culture of laziness. I hope you remember when Batnaji was Minister of Power under the Jonathan government, and he was riding hard and getting them to work. Do you remember that they were praying, they were doing night vigil because of that man, so that he would fail?
And he was voted out.
And then he was voted out, and they were all happy.
They waited for a small mistake.
Yes, and then they got him out. Do you recall that before he was let go, power was already settling down? We were in my place, in my house. When I'm going out in the morning, I will put off my fridge and freezer, because it became extremely cold, such that in a week, maybe they will take the power maybe 4, 5, 6 hours in a week in that Oregon axis where I was living then. Do you understand? But as soon as he left, the thing came. And then we started suffering, and then it's getting worse and worse. I understand in the last 1 or 2 months, we've had 5 breakdowns. And but why are we having breakdowns? After anyway, I think there's something is happening very soon. I think the National Assembly, in trying to amend the Constitution, said that now state governments can now establish their own, and they don't have to upload to the national grid anymore, because the law is that when it's a state government establishes and then generates wattage of a certain level, it must upload to the national grid. What you produce, you hold, you use. I understand that Lagos state government already has somewhere in Badagry with the plant ready. If this thing begins to work, maybe we need to, just as we are talking about state police, and we need to start having state electricity companies. I've lived in a country where it is privatized and it is regionalized. This region, the power is provided by a power company based within that region. And then that company pays its tax, does everything, links up, and right beside you, they supply you, you don't pay. They just come and remove this thing. You can't, if you connect it, they prosecute you. You can even go to jail.
But some of the people who are not paying here are
government
federal agencies,
yes.
The armed forces, and all that. So who will go and even disconnect their electricity?
They don't give them money, they're owing them. They're owing them.
If you don't supply them,
that's right,
it's a problem. If you
supply them,
if you disconnect them, it's a problem. We still beat up electricity workers in this country. Some of them will drag them down
to your area.
Yes,
I think
beat them up.
They should quickly push the idea of these prepaid, so that there's no supply to you if you don't buy. So it's your own problem if you don't buy.
I also think even those ones may not still solve the problem, because given the size of our country,
investment into that sector
should be generating
massive.
More than this is shameful. 3,839. We can't do more than 4,000 megawatts for a country of this size. So we have to invest a lot more in off-grid. Yes, off-grid power sources.
Exactly.
That is what more and more countries are doing. And God has blessed us so much that we can source power from wind, from the sun, solar, and other hydro, other sources, so many sources. South Africa, for example, relies on coal. They rely on coal in South Africa, and they are doing 42,000 megawatts daily. Wow. So we have to expand our power sources. We've been talking about the Mambila power plant for years, about 30 years. Nothing has happened. And it has the potential to be the biggest hydro plant in this continent. But what are we doing? It's been left the way.
If you know when I've been hearing about that Mambila,
I was there in 2019. It has not changed. No road to the place. It's just wasting. We have opportunity. Other people don't have even the half of what it has pleased God to bless us with.
I don't know the number of budget circle that we've promised.
Anyway, there was a discussion that Siemens will intervene. And then suddenly,
yes, I think that's at last 2 months.
We are still in business with
they
Siemens.
still confirmed.
I just hope that
the intervention.
You know, Siemens helped Egypt to build power plants to increase their capacity. In our country, I don't know how exactly we are going to use Siemens. Is it in distribution? I want to use them. We need to use them help us build more grid-connected power plants. Egypt has 40 grid-connected power plants. 40. For a country not as big as Nigeria, at least in terms of our population, if they have that much.
And from research,
it's not a surprise that they have more than enough.
Successive experts in that sector, they've told us that it will take us investing millions of dollars for the next
billions of dollars for the next 10 years consistently
before we can solve this problem.
These current power companies, they don't have the wherewithal, they don't have the funding. The distribution companies, they don't have the funding. If we were bringing General Electric, for example, from the US, everyone knows, they have the track record, they are big, you know. We didn't bring such companies. People transited from being bankers to owners of generating companies in Nigeria. They don't have track record in the business. And they also didn't have enough money. So now they are struggling. Government has given them bailouts consistently. We've achieved nothing. So we need to encourage more investors to come into that sector, build more power plants, you know, build lines, gas supply lines, because gas supply is one of the problems that usually leads to system failure. Those power plants sometimes will not have access to gas because we build power plants far away from source of gas supply. And these boys who breach the pipeline, then those power plants won't have access to gas, because a lot of them are these gas-fired plants, Egbe, all of them. They need the gas. Egbe is the largest gas-fired plant in West Africa, but many times they will not have access to gas. So how does Egbe come on stream if there is no access to gas? Gas is a major problem, one of the disruptive issues that we are facing in the power sector. Then there is a need to invest in replenishing, if I can use that word, of our transmission infrastructure. A lot of them are old. Those cables, those lines are old. They need to invest more in them. The government has done well in that area, but they still need to do a lot more.
Look, finally, and we just pray that we are able to maximize the potential. Apart from facing hydro, we've not done coal, we've not started doing solar, we've not started doing even nuclear.
Exactly. I recall living in the 60s, 70s on Lagos Island. And then after the establishment of the construction of the second mainland bridge, that's Eco Bridge. Driving past the kiln, the ECN, you saw the smoke, you know, about opposite National Theatre. You will see the power station there. And it's coal-powered. And we used to just see the film going there. We knew that it was never, there's no time that you will never see smoke coming. It was always working.
To tell you the power plant was working.
It was working. There's no time, you know. And, you know, but I think the problem is this: we just dropped the ball somewhere, you know. It used to be
that's what the South Africans are using.
It used to be that the NEPA or PHCN or whatever, they will say, oh, during dry season, they will say, oh, the water level went down. Then when there is rain season, they say, oh, the water level went too high.
Snakes entered.
Then suddenly they now keep quiet. Now
they have passed the blame now because we have more gas-fired plants.
That's what I'm saying. They have now decided to push the blame now to gas. They say, oh, and then the gas company say, you don't pay us when we supply you. You understand? So it's, you know, I think the entire supply chain, there's need for
I have this caller.
Tooth combing.
Damola is calling us from Songwater, Ogun State.
Good afternoon.
Thank you for staying with us.
Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Damilola.
I just want to contribute in the area of security. I think this country, we're kind of deceiving ourselves. We all know that in this 21st century, open grazing can never work. And that is why the governor of Benue State, I still continue to feel it's not doing enough. These people, elders, it's either you come out openly and say, open grazing, I don't want it. And you stand your ground. It's not that today you say, open grazing, you don't want. Tomorrow, you organize a town hall meeting and you invite president, and we've talked. The leaders of the elders, they were here. Leaders of farmers, they were here. And we've made agreements.
Thank you, Damilola. Thank you for your contribution. Well,
I think it was referring to the banana, the destruction of the banana plantation,
yes.
and by herdsmen and their cows. I think that was what he saw.
Okay.
Why he said they cannot work open grazing. We've seen governors, even northern governors, who are encouraging their people to stay localized in a place, not be roaming freely with cattle and destroying people's crops. These are the things that are causing this bloodshed. You can't destroy a man who had worked for months. When it's close to harvest time, you go enter his farm with your cattle, and they eat up his crops, and you don't expect his blood to boil. Of course his blood will boil.
There are some areas in even the southwest here, we're told that they are under siege now. They can't farm. If areas in Ondo State, or say local government, Ijagba, Imoru, Ukeluse, Arimogija, all these areas, they say most of their villages that they are under siege there, that they can't go to.
I remember that people were killed in Ose the other day. You can't endanger people's lives because you want your cattle to graze freely. No, it's not. It's an antiquated way of life. The best thing is ranching, and I'm happy with the governor of Kano who came up with that ranch. And
that you want to do visited,
and I spoke with the herdsmen, the Fulani herdsmen. They said they are happy to be here. We are not going anywhere. This is a good place for us. Who would not like that? There's water provided for you.
Yes.
Constantly. There is even security. There's a police post. So cattle rustling, you will
There's
not
even
happen.
a reservation for them start making milk.
Yes, artificial insemination is possible there. And they were building a school for their children before I left the place. Maybe by now the school is even ready. So who would not like that? When they will have access to veterinary doctors, so instead of you going to the forest, going around, risking your life and risking the lives of farmers.
Okay, moving on now. To get out of our security woes as a country, state police has been suggested as the most effective option. More and more prominent Nigerians are lending credence to that call. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo is canvassing creation of state police to tackling rising insecurity in the country. Obasanjo said the creation of state police will be a better option than community policing. Meanwhile, a presidential aspirant on the platform of the People's Democratic Party, Peter Obi, said serial leadership failure is responsible for security problems and other woes bedeviling the country. State police is coming up again, and former President Olusegun Obasanjo.
I'm happy that a former general, still a general, a former military head of state, whose, shall we say, orientation is command and control, centralization of command and control, is now coming with the argument that we need to have to decentralize, because that's what it means to have state police or even local government police. I grew up seeing local government policemen in their khaki. And then side by side there was also the Nigeria police with their grey top and their black trousers. I remember, at least in primary school, seeing them before all of a sudden, I just discovered that I never saw those khaki again. What we now started seeing was what they called Nigeria police. Nigeria police was so, we as little kids, we saw them from a far distance. We didn't think we had any business with them. The local government police, they were the ones that were arresting tax dodgers.
Yes.
You know, you don't pay your tax, they are the ones who will pick you up. They were the ones doing certain things. And they were usually headquartered in the local government headquarters.
Yes.
That was where we were, and you saw them. Police didn't, but when they talk about CID, that was when we now started hearing, because I had a primary school friend whose father was head of CID. You know, so when they came to school, we saw his father. He never wore uniform. You know, so it was those a category of offences that the Nigeria police was running after. You know, and I like to think that if we get it right, if we begin to have state police, even local government police, we decentralize, I think we are on the road to getting a more secure. See what happened, was it last year, November, when the IG and the Minister of Justice sent a squad of Nigerian police to Magodo Estate. And see that cocky deputy chief inspector talking to the governor. Governor was saying, please call your boss. He said, no, you have to call my boss yourself. To a governor, quite in the open, displaying utter disregard for the office of the governor of Lagos State. Don't you know that if anybody from the federal system comes to visit Lagos State, the first port of call is to see the governor? That means even though you and I know that it's a lie to call the governor's chief security officer out of their states, because Nigerian Constitution says when the governor gives orders to the commissioner of police, the commissioner of police is obliged to ask the president whether he should obey the instruction or not. But whatever happens, we need to have some form of regard for ourselves at the local level. I'm happy, like I said, that somebody who grew up on a diet of centralized authority is now talking about let's have decentralized policing. And I think I understand his argument that state policing is not the same as community policing, because it is now the federal government, the federal police, that is now attempting, but with all these, they are PCRC, police community relations, those kind of things. That's what it's all about. It's not statutory, and there is no autonomy on the part of this local something. I'm sure you know, even RRS in Lagos State, it may be financed, it may be supported by the, but ultimately,
it's not being controlled.
It's not being controlled.
Julie, we've been talking about this, but the administration of Muhammadu Buhari has not minced word about not being interested in implementing this. So we can as well say that maybe after this administration, that's when we can agitate and get or tax those who are coming to please help us implement this. But for this government, I don't think they're interested in that word, state police.
No, Mr. President is not interested, and I think even the National Assembly members have seen his body language, and during the constitutional amendment debates and all that, they didn't show any seriousness. They didn't want it. All they were trying to do was strengthen community policing. Community policing can only take you up to a point. There is a level that community policing cannot take you beyond. So, state police has become inevitable. It is an idea whose time has come. We may we may keep denying the extent of the problem that we face. We may keep brushing state police aside. But I can tell you that the way things are going, the whole world can see that the current federal policing structure cannot take us out of the woods in terms of security. And I'm happy that more and more Nigerians, more and more people are seeing the need now to go for state police. Even the governor of Kaduna State, Malam Erufai, said the other day that state police has become inevitable. You can't achieve much under this centralized policing structure because it's just not working. And if something is not working, then we've got to try something different. Life is dynamic. There's no reason for us to be rigid, especially when being rigid has not helped us to solve the problems that we face. Look at the other day, Boko Haram went to Yobe State and slaughtered hotel guests. Yes, just on this back, slaughtered hotel guests. What's the meaning of that? You go into an hotel, just slaughter the guests there, and then move to a school, set the school ablaze. That's Gaydam, Yobe State. And the frustration of governors, you had my interview with the governor of Taraba State, said, I'm here, I'm not in control. That people will say, oh, we'll give them state police, they are going to abuse it, they are going to do this, they are going to do that. We can't keep blackmailing ourselves
because of the limitations,
because of the fear. The fear that we have that, oh, they are going to use this against political opponents. People will ask that the federal police, do they not sometimes use it against political opponents? So we can't live perpetually in that fear. In the US, even schools have their own police. At the level of counties, they have police. Look at the New York police during the COVID. You know, a lot of them contracted COVID, and the policing structure in New York almost collapsed. So if the states had their police over there,
more than 14,000 police departments.
So what are we talking about? We've just got to ask ourselves, how much longer can we carry on with a policing structure that clearly is not in tandem with the times and clearly is not delivering the goods? What are we even talking about? The present federal police structure, it is largely funded by the states.
Yes, because if it's left,
look at the extent.
How much they release?
Governor Sanwo-Olu the other day, you saw how many equipment of different types that he donated to the police, in excess of 1 billion naira. We've seen Dangote donate cars, sedans to the police. In fact, you see Dangote's cars everywhere, whether you are in Abuja or everywhere. You even ask yourself, is he the one who bought all the vehicles that they have? That's the way states are funding the army, they are funding the police. They cannot survive without doing it, because they can see the big infrastructure gap. The states are helping to close that gap already. So if they have their own police, of course they'll be able to provide what they need. When people say, oh, people cannot pay salaries, they are talking about police. They ignore the fact that it is these states that are buying the patrol vans, patrol vehicles that the police are using. Police DPOs, what is the interest of a police DPO? It's not up to 50,000. Yes. Except if they change it tomorrow. Because I've seen very big police people tell me that, look, impressed for a DPO. Sometimes you don't even get it. You enter their police stations, you see some of their vehicles already without tires, disused vehicles all over. If not for the funding coming from states, the assistance from states, I'm wondering how even the police, the so-called federal police, will be able to cope. Look at the security trust fund that the Lagos State instituted. With it, corporate concerns are able to make patrol vans and other equipment, bulletproof vests and other available to the police. So that should tell you that if these states can go this far in helping the police, in stabilizing the police, that if you give them the mandate to form their own police, they'll be able to harm their police sufficiently. A state like Lagos, for example, with all the resources that are available to the population, you cannot continue to rely on the federal police to solve all our problems.
And for the fact that we are even the way it is, the structure right now, the country is under policed. You can imagine Lagos with over 20 million people, and you are talking about less than 50,000 policemen to.
I think some people just don't want. It's not just the president, and I think the president is probably representing some interests. Because I remember I was shocked in 2020 when this idea of Amotekun was being mooted in the southwest, that somebody that I consider to be a very, very serious progressive from the north, former governor of Kaduna State, late Balarabe Musa, was speaking against it vehemently, and he was saying that by wanting to introduce Amotekun, it means the southwest wants to break out of Nigeria. I thought that was a very rash conclusion.
So have they broken out?
Have they broken out now? And I was listening to Babajide, was it on Thursday or Friday, on this program, I was watching on Friday, and he said something that, have you observed that the southwest seems to be the safest place in Nigeria right now?
It is.
Don't you think that the Amotekun, even though they are not well provisioned for, seem to be doing something, deterring, because at least there's going to be a response if you do anything in the southwest.
Yes.
There will be
they are very effective in Ondo.
Yes.
In Osun, they're very effective.
There will be a response. So, and I think, don't we like that? I love that. That I'm secure in my house. I can go out, I'm sure that nobody, because even though we talk about, the bandits or the terrorists or the Boko Haram go to rural areas, we've heard of urban guerrillas too. We've heard of urban terrorists. So there's nothing wrong in having a state police. Even I would dare add, even local government police. I have lived in a city where even the university has its own police.
Yeah.
Peter is calling us from Jalingo, that's Taraba State. Thank you, Peter. Hello, Peter.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, thank you for joining us.
About the insecurity we're having. They say that a person that is on the ground doesn't fear fall anymore. You see, we have gotten... Hello?
Yes, Peter, go ahead.
Yeah, we are getting to a point that we need to put every option on the table. Because, at the point here, we need this police seriously, and our president has not telling us the point to convince us that the police cannot work. You see, at this point here, we have gotten to a point that even the constitution of this country, if we amend in a week, is enough for us to amend the constitution to accommodate anything that we need to survive at this point. But I feel that our leaders are not feeling what they are feeling. That's why they are so less concerned about what is happening to us. You see, but this government has failed us because we all hope that this government has to put the security in check. We are not getting enough from them. I can't see any good.
Thank you for your contribution. Jire, now the presidential aspirant on the platform of People's Democratic Party, Mr. Peter Obi, said serial leadership failure is responsible for the security problems and other woes bedeviling the country.
Yes, it's right. Look, if we have good governance, it will rub off on so many things. To rub off on so many things. Education will improve. More and more people will have access to education. The economy will improve. And when the economy improves, even the number of criminals will go down. You go to some countries, corruption has slightly been defeated because you know that the safety nets already put in place will make it difficult for you to be corrupt. And if you are corrupt, you cannot escape being sanctioned. You can't escape going to jail. Look at Norway, for example. The day I spoke about it, someone was watching me and he thought I was lying. He now went, checked, used the search engine, checked what I said, and got back to me through WhatsApp that you are right. Oh. Norway, their prisons, they don't have people for their prisons. It has now reached a point that other countries like Spain, they are sending prisoners. Help us keep these prisoners.
What a country.
Because Norway is building 5-star prisons, complete with golf courses. You have your grill machine, you have everything, and there are no people are not there.
A lot of prisoners in Nigeria.
What are you going? Why will you take to a life of crime when government is alive to its responsibilities? The government provides your needs, but you pay your tax. They don't joke with tax payment. The punishment in some European countries for not paying tax is bigger than manslaughter. It's bigger than the punishment for manslaughter. But the things that we praise governments for, they provided water, is taken for granted over there.
Basic things.
I said their prisons are empty. You see prison, you can't even believe, because the lawns are manicured, and you see a grill machine, everything that the guy needs in his own chalet is there, and he's supposed to be in prison.
And he has access to knives. He has access to knives. He has a kitchen.
Yes, he has a kitchen. No, but why will he take his own life? He knows that he will soon be out. Yes, he will soon be out and will enjoy life. So those countries, some of those Scandinavian countries, they get you to realize that, look, if they provide good leadership, good governance, the people will not take to crime. The people too will feel proud, and they will give their best to their country. All that it requires for Nigeria to improve is good leadership. We are a dynamic people. We are among the best people in the world. Everywhere you see Nigerians outside of here, they are excelling. You see products of our universities. As much as we demonize our universities, you see products of our universities going abroad and doing very well. So leadership will prove to be the difference maker. And I've said it before at some events, that if we can have 3 electoral cycles in succession, produce good leaders for us,
honestly,
we have solved the problem of leadership.
Back to back.
And for that to happen, our votes must count. Not when somebody can sit down somewhere and imagine that he can rig the election, whether we vote for him or not. When the power rests with the ordinary man, he can kick away bad leaders. And as a result of that, those other people will know that they have to sit up.
Yes, they're waiting for another 4 years because they know that
they don't work for the people, they will sweep you out of office.
The party.
So everybody
vote out the party,
yes,
not performing party.
Yes. So that's the way it should be. And it's not a matter of somebody imposing somebody. No. Jerry Rawlings, as much as Ghanaians loved him, when he wanted to bring somebody, did they not vote against his candidate?
Yes, yes.
He's their hero, but they voted against his candidate.
Yes. Ada is calling us from Jos, Plateau State.
Hello, Ada calling from Jos, Plateau State.
Hello, Ada.
Hangout.
Thank you for joining us, Ada.
How are you doing now?
Not bad, though. You know what? What I don't understand is this. Can't we practice fiscal federalism? Must we wait for things to deteriorate or whatever, situation to deteriorate before we start practicing it? Because if we have been doing the right thing, with what you call true federalism. All these state police should be taken care of. Decentralization of power and what do you call it? Then there are our leaders. When they leave office, that's why they will now be saying, yes, we should have state police. I'm sure Buhari that is saying that it's not an option. Maybe when he leaves office now, he will say we should have state police. That's the problem we have. Bad leadership. God bless you. Let's not joke about this country. It's really unfortunate. I don't know. They're talking about abuse by governors. Why can't they put mechanism in place to check them? The federal police, is it not being abused? Is it not being abused, or they want to have monopoly of abuse? Let them let them kill all of us. Then they will now accept state police.
Thank you, Ada. Thank you for your contribution. What Governor Peter Obi is saying here is that is, serial leadership failure is responsible for the security problems we've had.
You see, Ayo, you asked Babajide a question, and I want to try and attempt to answer the question too. Say, what do we do? How do we get out of this bind that we find ourselves? And he said, let's have back-to-back 3 roles of good governance, and then we are out. Now, people keep saying that the Southwest or the old Western Nigeria is the bedrock of progressive politics in Nigeria. Do you know why? Education. That free education is the basis of that. Because if I can read and write, if I can ask questions and say, wait a minute, why should I have to, tolerate whatever it is, your excesses? Because those who made a case for the American democracy, the philosophers, the political philosophers of Europe, who are thinking that we need to, in America, these experiments that we want to start, let's have a democracy without a king. Now, their major argument is that the electorate, the citizenry, must be educated before they can run this democracy, before they can interrogate manifestos, before they can query politicians, before they can ask questions, before they can even comply. You understand? You saw what last year the January 6th invasion of America's Congress. You saw the role of the CNN. It stood up. I like to think that CNN is the hero of that January 6th thing, that they overwhelmed the negative forces, because it was, as far as I was concerned, a coup against the American state. Because you have enough people, a critical mass of people who are educated, who understand the principles of democracy, that you have to stand by those values of democracy so that you can maintain and retain democracy for the people. We don't have that here. Our people kowtow very quickly. Once somebody comes, and then, in any case, part of this is that there has to be a modicum of financial stability for the individual. Because if you are going to have to give me a bag of rice or 500 naira before I can vote for you, you already got me. The poverty will overwhelm me. I hope you remember that one of the reasons that Nigerian Labour Congress is having issues calling out strike is because those workers, if they don't work for one day, they will starve. They will starve.
And they can't sustain 2-3 days
they can't
without...
Exactly. So those are the things. So we need to...
road transport
workers. Yes. By the time it's
and you need them to enforce it.
Yes, now. The second, third day, even by 4 p.m. back on
they
the
are
street.
tired, yes. Because by the time they get home,
live for the day.
And the wife says, how now? And you now say, don't you know we went on strike? Then you will point to your children and say, what are these? Is this strike that they are going to eat? So I think we need to get ourselves to the position where we have massive education. Let's even start with the primary school. How can you have 13.5 million Nigerian kids roaming the streets?
Okay, we have Samuel from Abuja. Thank you for joining us, Samuel.
Hello.
Yes. Thank you for joining us.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Samuel. You're live.
Okay. Well done, all the gentlemen there.
Thank you.
Babajide, I thank him so much.
Thank you.
And every one of you, other ones that are there. I want to thank Babajide, especially for giving me a very good information this afternoon concerning what he said about electricity we are generating to two countries, the Republic of Benin and the other people. From the time I'm not so old now, up till now, people have been telling us that look at Nigeria is distributing and bringing power to two countries when we don't have any. That's what they are doing. I am about 57 years now of age. I have never had this. Only this afternoon I had this. Very interesting to me. And that's why I called to thank him for the information he has given to me.
Thank you.
Especially. Because this thing has been there. And when you tell people, they say, no, don't worry. It is Nigeria, you are sending it to them. But look at the information the man, Babajide, has just given now. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Oga.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Babajide.
That's why you
giving
must
that.
miss
Yes,
our program.
that's why you must keep watching, because that has been the fallacy that from time that we give power, we don't have power, we give to this,
people.
we give to that. You know, nobody will ever.
If they dam it, so where are we going to say water? If they dam it up there, no access. No access. So
it's better they dam it here and we'll share.
Once they dam it upstream, you will not have the water. You won't have it. At least you won't have enough that
will generate.
Yes.
And they don't have the financial muscle to dam it to supply us.
At that time, it wasn't even in their plans.
That's right.
It wasn't in their plan. The person who dams it has already placed himself in a vantage position. You know, that's why you see two countries struggling for control of the Nile River, because once this other person has dammed it upstream, then they won't have access. They may even need it for irrigation process purposes, but once you've dammed it, the access to it has been grossly limited. They may not want to do a dam, maybe just irrigation. Egypt as a country is struggling to access water. Egypt had to call farmers that, look, de-emphasize growing of rice. That's how we became #1 rice producer in Africa. Go for wheat. Wheat does not need as much water as rice. Government had to discourage farmers in Egypt to give up rice farming in exchange for wheat because of the problem of water. Because rice needs water a lot. So this is the water that we have that we take for granted in our country, that we are wasting away. If you see my video from the Mambila story, you see that pressure, the pressure of the water. Even where you are, you will be scared.
Yes.
The pressure. Pressure that moved a big stone from one point to another. That was a big stone, it moved it over time from that point to where it now sits. Because that pressure, man, just wasting away. If some people had that, they'll be able to do a lot.
And that's where we propose to build.
Yes, there are 3 dams in the area. Well, that's the main one. And the project, if only we would do it, the project area is more than 5 times the size of Lagos. Yes. It's cutting across like 5 local governments in Taraba. Taraba is the 3rd largest state in our country. You can remove many Lagos from Taraba. But the project is just wasting. People see me, they call me, when are they going to start Mambila? I don't have the answer.
I remember when we did that special report.
Yes.
We thought that was going to quicken the process.
That's Nigeria. So that's part of what Peter Obi was saying. There's no doubt that we've not been blessed over time with the right kind of leadership in our country. This is a country that is so blessed. We have mineral resources, virtually every mineral resource we have. But look at where we are. We shouldn't be where we are. We shouldn't be where we are. If a country like Egypt is in position now to sell electricity to Europe, we say we are giant of Africa. We should be doing much more than that. You know?
Lincoln, for the next election, I expect that this should be talking points instead of rice and gari and souvenirs.
500 naira.
This should be the questions we should ask from these people.
And I think, you certainly have a point there, which also, buttresses my earlier points that electorate, a discerning electorate, a questioning electorate, an electorate that queries and say, what is in it for me? Listen, some people, I have started having second thoughts about the idea of stomach infrastructure that the former governor of Ekiti State. Because I thought it was sinister, but later I now started thinking, the Americans have what they call American dream. It's the same thing. It's like there has to be a house, a roof over my head. There has to be food for my family. There has to be a car. Those are basic things, about 4 or 5 basic things that go with this. If we can redefine the content of this stomach infrastructure that Fayose is talking about, and then find a way to get it across to every citizen of Nigeria. Let's not call it Nigerian dream. Let's call it stomach infrastructure for this purpose. Because it's a very simple. It's a simple language to use.
It will become a joke once.
Or whatever name you want to call it. Yeah. But the point is that the material that we need, materiality, food, clothing, shelter, transportation, security, accommodation. Let's close to where. Let's have those basic things. Education of our children, access to medicals. Tommy Segogi, who used to be managing director of Transcorp, argued sometime. He gave a lecture sometime in 2003 or 2002. He said it is not about corruption. That if you keep saying you want to kill corruption, you are wasting your time. Run the economy right. Run it well. Just as Ragide was saying, run the economy in such a way that everybody gets basics. Now, if you are hardworking, you can become a billionaire. You then have your luxury. That's your business. As long as my own basic is coming to me, I'm not going to begrudge you. Maybe I will befriend you. Maybe you will be kind to me and give me bestow onto me some of the things you have. But I will. My life is, provisioned for, provided for. And I think that's where we need to.
We hope our people, they are wiser now, and things we put into consideration to voting our leaders. What we did in 2015 and 2019, we just have to watch.
People are giving up. They don't want. Once you come to them to campaign, they will tell you to give them something, because they believe that by the time you get to office, you will not remember them. So they want it now.
They're so impoverished.
Yeah, hunger has a way of resetting brains. Hunger resets brains negatively. So they tell you, bring it now. Don't tell us stories. All this campaign, you will not do it. You will not even remember us. You won't pick our calls anymore. And it happens. People get into office, the people who are their foot soldiers who help them to campaign, the moment they get there, they start barring their calls. They'll block them. You can't reach them. No access to them anymore. And that same person will come and rig election. You will bribe party leaders and they'll rig the main election. So you can't kick him out of office. But with time, once our electoral processes get better, any leader who takes the people for granted will be shown the door. And that's what I pray that day will come. Politicians imagine themselves to be gods of men. But the voter should actually be the god of the politician.
I want to thank you, Lekon Shote, for your contribution.
Thank you.
Journalist Hangout Sunday, and the master himself, Babajide Kolade Otitoju. Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu was meant to have, from the other station. Yes. I'm sure they are still trying, maybe due to network, but we have to move on.
One day we'll do it again.
All right.
He has to talk to us about
on this project.
Yes, he has to talk.
Very ambitious project.
We will not leave him alone.
Yes, very ambitious project. Okay, and that's a wrap on Journalist Hangout on Sunday. Join us tomorrow for the regular episode of the program at 5 p.m. You can watch the repeat broadcast tonight at 11:30 p.m. You can watch us on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. I'm Ayodele Uzubakun. See you tomorrow by 5 p.m. God bless Nigeria.